Now, before I talk about one of my favorite characters, Rob Lucci, I want to talk about one of my other favorite characters, Wano or Zoro. And Zoro, you have to give respect after Wano, like tanking that attack from Big Mom and Kaido, also scarring the strongest creature alive in his hybrid form. That was intense, with Kankusaki coding Ashura. And then after that, fighting King and King's Lunarian race, like it was like you saw the Seraphim battle. King's Lunarian race, it was a tough battle because of the durability of King, but its advanced Kankusaki King of Hell mode did the job. The reason why I want to talk about Zoro when it comes to Rob Lucci is because Zoro defeated Kaku during Enies lobby, and Kaku was like half of Rob Lucci's Doriki. That was like a power level system early on in the One Piece story. So now we're seeing Zoro fighting Rob Lucci, the leader of CP0, and I think this is definitely gonna make things different. Zoro beating Rob Lucci to me has more value, not because I think Rob Lucci is stronger than King. Honestly, it has nothing to do with power scaling. It has to do with the cinematic story One Piece and how Luffy beat Rob Lucci, and it was a big deal because no one could have beat Rob Lucci during any lobbies, and Luffy barely did it. So for Zoro to beat him now in the current story, it's more symbolic more so than, oh, because Rob Lucci's stronger than King, so Zoro's getting even more stronger. No, it's more so it makes us look at Zoro like, okay, you did it. You defeated an opponent that Luffy also defeated. But what if I told you I'm actually impressed with Rob Lucci's power in general post-timeskip? He is CP0's top dog, though CP0 is very trash. It's just the rest of CP9 from back in the days. And of course, CP0, we saw in Wano, those three members that, let's be honest here, at least one took out a Whitebeard pirate. That was pretty cool. And like, obviously, we saw that leader, Guernica, he was a top agent. That's what the Gorosei said. And he defeated X-Drake. And then, of course, he went in to, of course, interrupt the Kaido Luffy battle. But still, CP0 is trash, guys. So let's keep it real. Let's keep CP0 didn't show anything crazy. Rob Lucci is the strongest CP0 member. And when it comes to Wano, other than like Luffy, there's 5 characters who I felt were doing amazing things. Eustace Kid, of course, when he's battling, of course, Big Mom. Then there's Law, who also was battling Big Mom as well with his awakening. Then there's Zoro, who went up against King, and that was pretty cool to see Zoro's Kankusaki coding. And then there's Sanji, of course, Sanji did his thing as well when it comes to his Germa body activating and blue flames and being so fast you couldn't even see him. And then of course we also have mythical Zoan with Kankusaki coding Yamato, whether that be against Kaido the Yonko or whether that be against Green Bull the Admiral. But the reason why it's different is because all these guys, we saw them face adversity, we saw them improve in battle, like we saw them fight monsters, and then we saw their power and scaling, and it was just amazing. Maybe you couldn't say that for Yamato, but the rest we did. So when we see characters like Rob Lucci where we never saw that, we just saw him in Enies lobby, and then we fast forward to Egghead Island, and okay, now we're seeing his power up. It's a little bit different. Now you have to understand, post-timeskip, we did see him fight Gear 5th Luffy. This is the same Gear 5th Luffy that was fighting Kaido. Now, of course, Luffy wasn't really going that all out. I will admit that. He didn't even do any Kankusaki coded attack. But still, Rob Lucci said, I'm awakened, I'm stronger, and he wasn't backing down from the Yonko, and I have to give respect to respect is due. And he even said, I don't recognize Luffy as a Yonko. Now, that was wild. That was a wild statement from Rob Lucci, I must admit. Now he was going too far, but the confidence is insane. And then, of course, we saw him get betrayed by Stussy and taken out. And a lot of people were like, yo, how does Stussy, fellow CP0 member, take you out and, like, low diff you? But obviously, we know there is obviously stipulations on how Stussy did that. And in the end, he did get his run back later on in the Egghead Island arc. So we'll give Rob Lucci the benefit of the doubt. Then, of course, we had the moment of Rob Lucci teaming up with Luffy versus the Seraphim, which is pretty cool to see because they were like going at it so hard in Enies lobby, and then now they're teaming up for it, like, because it's mutual benefit. And now he's fighting Zoro, and this is personal because Zoro knows how far he pushed Luffy during Enies lobby, and let's be honest here, Zoro is very competitive, so this is like kind of like a personal competition for Zoro right now. And we even see it when it comes to, like, Luffy was about to jump in and help Zoro, and Zoro's like, yo, focus on Kizaru, yo, get out of here. Zoro told Luffy to get out of here because honestly I think Zoro, this is like a personal thing where he wants to defeat Lucci, an opponent that pretty much pushed Luffy to the hell during Enies lobby. And then of course you also see the talking shit between them when it comes to, like, how does Zoro saying, you're not worthy of my captain, giving respect to Luffy, like, this is all your power. And then Rob Lucci saying, oh, a number 2 of a Yonko will be it'll still be a W in a sense, because that's like, yeah, it is true, defeating a vice captain to a Yonko is still a W for Rob Lucci. Like, we also saw the narrative of, like, the Admiral Green Bulls that, oh, okay, Beast Commanders, like, top Yonko Commanders, they're nothing to me. Like, so we all obviously know that Rob Lucci is taking it a little different, like, more so, I'll take it as under a W on my belt. giving respect to Zoro in a sense. And then of course we also saw Kizaru speaking and Admiral speaking to the Gorosei and giving a lot of respect to Rob Lucci for his work inside of Egghead Island, especially the number. Like Rob Lucci was like solo mission right there, so Kizaru had to give respect. And then of course even the moment where Saturn is, how do I say this, going crazy on Egghead Island, and Rob Lucci is one of the people who sensed it alongside Luffy, Kizaru, and Zoro, even Jinbei. But Rob Lucci was one of those people who sensed the power, and I think Oda wants us to give Rob Lucci his respect. He's not saying Rob Lucci is Yonko level or an Admiral level, but he wants us to look at Rob Lucci as one of the strongest characters in the story. Not saying like top 10, but like top 20 from what we've seen. In today's video, I'm going to truly show you why Rob Lucci is so terrifying. And Oda has been doing it since the beginning of the story. Yes, go all the way back to chapter 349. Oda tells us that Rob Lucci is a carnivorous Zoan. And pretty much they're an aggressive zone. The more you train, the more your power is amplified. Pretty much Rob Lucci's Delver ability is perfect for a brawler type. And then of course later on we see him do his Zoan combined with his Rokushiki Shigun or figure pistol on Luffy and stabs Luffy. Then right after throws Luffy pretty much across the entire Water 7 island. So yeah, Rob Lucci's power was nothing to scoff at. And another reason why I think it's personal for Zoro, because after that Zoro has to defend his captain, so he goes to cut Rob Lucci's arm and he uses Tekkai and blocks Zoro's cutting attack. Zoro was the same man who cut a Mr. One Steel. Like he cut Steel early on. So for him to get blocked by a fist like that, and he's not even a man made of steel in a sense, that is crazy. And of course then kicks Zoro across the island as well. So it is personal, yo. Beginning of their introduction, Rob Lucci was bullying Luffy and Zoro. Though they weren't fighting with the same intention like Enies Lobby, Water 7, they were getting bullied. And then of course we also saw during Enies Lobby when Luffy and Lucci's battle was heating up, we saw of course that Lucci reveals that he has 5 times as much as Doriki as Fukuro, the Chapapapa character that Frankie defeated. Gives him congratulations for being a superhuman, but says, yeah, Frankie even knows his power is incomparable. Luffy then hits him with a very decisive jet pistol that sends him flying. And this also shocks Frankie because Frankie's like, yo, my punch didn't do anything. And Luffy's sending him flying. And then, of course, sees smoke coming out of Luffy and understands, yeah, Luffy's definitely going to the next level just to defeat Rob Lucci. Of course, then Rob Lucci transforms and reminds Luffy how earlier I talked about how he stabbed or fingered Luffy. I know that sounds weird, but he did in this form, and how Luffy says he's not phased because he healed right away after eating meat. Pretty cool and dialogue interaction between these two monsters. Lucci then says, I was careless. I didn't know you had this much power. And this is true. Lucci did not know that Luffy had Gear 2nd in his back pocket, yo. He just thought Luffy was going to come back with more passion, but he didn't think he was actually going to come back with a power up. And Gear 2nd is one of the more controversial videos. I'm actually working on a huge project for my other channel, Chipco, that has to do with Gear 2nd, but I'll tell you guys later. Let's continue this video. He also notices that Luffy has a short of breath, and he says it's because of the steam. And Luffy says, I don't care as long as I can beat you. And Rob Lucci gives credit to Luffy, says, you are a tough fighter. So we're seeing the dialogue that Lucci and Luffy are having in their battle, and it's very, how to say this, yo, it's not really like emotional based. It's more so noticing things and respecting it. And speaking of noticing things, he says it's kind of like doping, kind of like steroid use in any sport. And he says you use your legs as pumps to accelerate blood circulation, creating blood pressure that can tear your heart into pieces if you were a normal human. But since you're made out of rubber, you get stronger, but your stamina takes a hit and you're hacking away at your life. So it's not that smart. I think it's pretty cool because it also makes me think of, even in the current story, Luffy Gear 5th, and how he pretty much was hacking away his life to defeat Kaido, and we saw it was crazy. Rob Lucci then goes on to tell Luffy that he's getting his hopes up because there's warships from the Marine headquarters that are test firing right now, and soon they'll actually lay down the law on Enies Lobby and the Tower of Justice, and all his Nakama will die. So Rob Lucci's really trying to give some logic to Luffy and how things are looking very, very bad for him. Rob Lucci then makes it worse, saying in case anyone's running to the underground passage, then does a Rinkiaku kick. Of course, this is a CP0 attack, CP9 attack that causes the seawater to flood the passage, so anyone that's in there drown. It's very much just taunting Luffy and saying Luffy's not doing anything right. And this just shows you how Rob Lucci is trying to get to the point, yo. He is not beating around the bush. Rob Lucci then tells Luffy to go save his Nakama, but of course Luffy's not that dumb, yo. Luffy says, nah, I know. Like, it's Luffy, the thing people understand, yes, Luffy doesn't use logic, but he does know the different possibilities. He's always thinking about different possibilities. So Luffy says, nah, you will kill them, and that's why I gotta beat you. And Luffy says, and then of course Rob Lucci replies and says, you are the boss. I'm certain for that. I wish a certain idiot can hear what you just said right now. Of course, obviously saying that Spondum is a fake leader and Luffy's a real leader. And then he goes on to say same thing would happen if you actually died. So pretty much Rob Lucci is saying, yeah, that's true. If you did try to save them, I would kill them. But even if you fight me, I'm going to kill them right after because I'm going to kill you. Then, of course, we saw the Akaino the Vice Admirals. Now, you're probably thinking, who's the Akaino the Vice Admirals? Is it Smoker? Is it someone else? Like, honestly, I look at Vice Admiral Doberman as the Akaino because he was kind of in the middle during the Marineford War, like, talking. And he was saying a lot, like, even when he was talking about Sengoku, like, yo, we can end the war. He kind of reminds you of, like, the Akaino. Now he's actually on Egghead Island, so it's pretty cool how it's all connected, Doberman. And he says leave Nico Robin and explains because of Rob Lucci's past. He talks about Rob Lucci killing 500 hostages so that, of course, the kingdom can survive against the pirates. And then, of course, beheaded the pirate and tanked a lot of attack, all for the name of dark justice. So just saying Rob Lucci's a savage, yo. He does not deal with that hostage BS, yo. He will literally kill all the hostages so you have no advantage. All this for Doberman to pretty much say, this guy's a killing machine and we don't need to jump in. Rob Lucci can handle Monkey D. Luffy. And I thought it was pretty cool during this battle when he tried to tank a giant pistol head on. That's how crazy Rob Lucci is and believes in his power and confident. And though it didn't work out because he almost lost consciousness, but at least he knew not to fall in the water, so I will give him that. It was pretty crazy how the Marines were trying to press Rob Lucci because they didn't know who he was. They just thought he was a random Delphi user. And of course they were told to stop by their supervisor. And after finding out who it was, they were shook. They were very shook. And Rob Lucci says, yo, pretty much tells him to shut the hell up and don't offend my ears. Pretty much they were bothering Rob Lucci just by speaking. And then Rob Lucci, probably from the anger of the Marines, goes into his animalistic form and bites Luffy. Of course, Luffy was using Gear 3rd, so it was definitely an advantage situation to go in his animalistic form and like a leopard just jump on him. And he even talks about it. He says your power increases when you're using Gear 3rd, but your speed decreases. And I heard this before, obviously. I heard this with Doflamingo during Dressrosa. When Luffy was using Gear 3rd, he said, yo, your power increases, but you don't have the speed. That kind of was the inspiration for Gear 4th coming out of nowhere and having both power and speed, guys. And another Vice Admiral that I think is very important is Vice Admiral Onigimo. You guys all know during the Marineford War, he, of course, made Marco with the Sea Stone cuffs. He has the Dofru ability that has to do with his hair. Yeah, Onigimo is an important admiral. I do think that. And he says, I'm sure Rob Lucci won't die, and says tells everyone to attack the warship number 4. And so it says, even though there's 1,000 soldiers there, of course, Vice Admiral Onigimo is pretty much just shoots that guy. But still, it just shows you how much respect that Rob Lucci gets, yo. That like, these Vice Admirals, that's 2 Vice Admirals that are like, not just regular Vice Admirals. These are like legitimate Vice Admirals that are giving so much respect to Rob Lucci's power. And lo and behold, when Rob Lucci comes out the attack, he says to Luffy, if you die from that attack from the warship, it would have been boring. So Rob Lucci like pretty much knew like, okay, that was nothing, but he was worried for Luffy, and Luffy survived, so he did get respect. And then Rob Lucci does this new form. It's Kamebushin, a slim leopard hybrid. And Lucci kind of gives me the vibe of like he was kind of giving a sneak peek to his awakened form, because it looks similar to his awakened form. Not obviously not identical, but similar. And Rob Lucci even tried to give some advice to Luffy, saying you're gonna die using your power, and pretty much that Luffy just says, I don't know what happened later. So Rob Lucci's knowing that Luffy's going all out to the fullest, and Luffy admits it, yeah, I don't care what's gonna happen later, I gotta do this now. And then this is where the battle starts to go towards Rob Lucci with his final strongest move, Rokushiki move, Roku Gun. Yeah, Roku Ugun. Yeah, this attack made Luffy, like, the art was, look, you saw the artwork in the manga panel, his artwork was tweaking, yo. It kind of reminds us less of the Dragon Punch, yo. And Luffy said it kind of reminds him of the Impact Gun on steroids from Skypiea. So yeah, this attack was definitely very, very damaging. And then Frankie tells the rest of the crew that Rob Lucci is very, very strong, and he says, I don't know how many of us would have died without Luffy. And then Nami, of course, talks about how Luffy always goes for the strongest, and he has like his animal instincts. pretty much this is a lot of respect on Rob Lucci. Though it's not right in our face, they are pretty much saying Rob Lucci was about to do massacre level things without Luffy being there. And then of course Rob Lucci says, I will chase Nico Robin to the end of the earth. And we saw that near the end of Wano when he was telling the CP0, yo guys, make sure you get Nico Robin. Like Rob Lucci was 100% gung-ho on the Nico Robin mission, more so than anything to do with Luffy and Kaido. And then of course he says, I will chase her to the end of the earth, and how do I say this, and then says, anybody that gets in the way of the world government, I will take down in the name of Dark Justice. So that Dark Justice is a reoccurring theme of Rob Lucci. Then he hits Luffy with his strongest attack again. It kind of reminds me when Kid was doing Damn Punk on Big Mom, and this is the Roku gun, and it hits different. This attack honestly beat Luffy. Luffy was on the ground and Luffy couldn't handle anymore. When this attack hit Luffy, he was done. He lost. Luffy was like, okay, Rob Lucci, you win. Then after Usopp's speech, a friendship speech from Usopp, Luffy gets back up, and guess what Rob Lucci does? Hits him with another third Roku gun, and this had more power too because he's not in his slim form, he's in his big hybrid form. So yeah, Luffy was taking the blunt, like some blunt attacks from Rob Lucci, his strongest attack straight up. And of course Luffy's determination will, we know he's a future pirate king. He doesn't fall down because he promised Usopp, and he gets back up and hits Rob Lucci with everything he has left in him, his jet gatling. That pretty much Luffy gave his all and some. This reminds me of fights like Luffy vs Katakuri or Luffy versus Kaido. Yo, he just went all out, guys, and that's what Rob Lucci pushed Luffy to do. And you saw that during Thriller Bark when Kuma says that Rob Lucci was defeated and that's why he had to come to Thriller Bark to help out Moria. Like, you could lose. If Rob Lucci could lose, you could lose Moria. That's what Kuma was pretty much telling Moria. So that, and Moria's a respected pirate. He fought Kaido back in the days. He's a warlord. That shows you how much respect Rob Lucci has in this One Piece world. So I know what you're probably thinking, yo, why is LegendMac glazing Rob Lucci? Is there a point to this? Why are you bringing up all this hype? Zoro's gonna lose. Zoro's gonna win. He's gonna cut him up easily. I'm just saying, Lucci. I still think Zoro's going to beat Lucci, but I think it's going to be more important how we look at Zoro after he beats Lucci. It's not an easy fight. Like, Rob Lucci's not an easy fight for Zoro. I'm saying that when Zoro beats him, we're going to give a lot of respect to Zoro. And you have to understand that I see it as a compliment. And you have to understand the fact that Rob Lucci was able to improve this much after he lost to Luffy initially during Enies lobby. A lot of enemies don't improve this much. Rob Lucci actually improved. He awakened his Delphin ability. He got Haki. He went to Super Zero. For Zoro to beat him now, it just makes me look at Zoro as better. So all the fans saying Rob Lucci's a scrub, Rob Lucci's trash. No. If you're a true Zoro fan, you must give respect to how terrifying Rob Lucci is. Because Zoro's not beating a scrub right now. Zoro's beating an actual legitimate fighter. Kizaru gave respect. Luffy even gave respect. You have to understand, this guy is no punk. So that's why I made this whole video, just to tell you guys, Rob Lucci is terrifying. He is not a punk.